All right, hello everybody. We are here tonight with Manu Lewis. He is a father, a husband, a community activist, a circle keeper, and a consultant. He's also a big homie to many here in North Minneapolis. Manu, you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are, what North Minneapolis means to you, and why you choose to do the work you do in North Minneapolis?
Oh, well, thank you for having me. So I'm a father. I'm a son. My mother's still with me. I'm a husband. I worked within the North Minneapolis community for the past 12 years, really trying to help break cycles with individuals. So I think when you ask me the question of who am I'm just I won't say an average Joe, but I'm just, a Northside resident that has care and concern about the future of the Northside. What really got me into this work was knowing that it was a lot of things that I was doing that I could have done better. Sometimes we want to be given the opportunity to do something different, but so I took advantage of the opportunity and really just been giving back from my own experiences ever since. So I think the third question that you asked was in reference to, I'm trying to keep on with the questions that was asked. I think.
Well, here the flow of the conversation is going to go.
Oh, okay.
Whatever you want to talk about, that's what it's here for.
Okay.
So it was just how you feel or just give you something.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I really would like to know, mine?
Yeah.
What I really would like to know
Okay.
is, who are you? Were you born in the jungle? Where were you born? You can share a little bit of your upbringing if you like. Adulthood, where you are now.
Sheridan. That was in '70. My father's mother moved here in 1946, so we're kind of like one of the older families also of North Minneapolis. I'm a nun. And my grandmother moved down to Atlanta on vacation, so my mom followed her. I was like 3 years old. So all of my adolescent and teenage years was actually in Atlanta, but, and I want to say this, be delicate in how I say this, but based on my youthful ignorance, I was forced to make a tour of the correctional institution within Georgia, right? I was a little hard-headed, a lot of rambunctious, so I did a lot of things I wasn't supposed to do. It wasn't until like 36 that I actually moved back to Minneapolis, so I was gone for that period of time. During the 80s, 90s, 2000s. So I came up here in 2006, and I figured one thing I knew about Minneapolis is that they would actually support individuals who wanted to better themselves. Like, I heard about people being paid to go to school, and I was like, man, I want to, I want to be a part of that because I have 2 GEDs myself, right? Mm-hmm. Crazy story. I got one up under a false name and one up under a real name, but. I do have 2 GEDs, so I figured like I'd come up here and try to do something to better myself, because I knew in Atlanta, especially once I got out, that nothing had changed about Atlanta, but I wanted to change so much, right? So I got out of there. And like 2010, unfortunately, my cousin Orlando Nunn was murdered on my birthday. That was January 20th, 2010. Right off Irving and Plymouth, which was really right down the street from where I was born at. And that day was the day that I just knew that I had to do something different. So that was a, shift in how I was going to be me, right? And so since then I worked with a nonprofit organization, and they actually really supported my personal and professional development. right? They invested in me going to different trainings and whatever training came up, if it was within my interest. I also started a 12-step self-help recovery program called CGA, which was Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous. So it was the first 12-step self-help recovery program that was lifestyle-based, established here in the state of Minnesota, right? So I facilitated those groups, not really knowing how to facilitate, right? I had never, learned how to facilitate, but I knew how to talk to my people. You know what I'm saying? Talk to cats like me who had those experiences. And, from there, I just really got into how I could be more impactful. And as we started off saying, the circle keeper, so that's with restorative justice. I've done a lot of work in North Minneapolis, exclusively in North Minneapolis around restorative justice. So I work with young men and women before they, especially when they catch their first case, instead of going into the system, they have a choice to make whether they want to be a part of the program. And we really work with them to show them their value, how much they are worth to the community. And I've been doing that for like 8 years. So now we're working with the youth juvenile detention to get some of those young men and young ladies also within the circles and provide them with a real opportunity to see how much they are of value, see what support they need, knowing what situation that actually brought them here was not their best decision that they made, and really, being impactful in their lives enough so that they can make better decisions. So that's currently what I'm doing, along with working with some neighborhood organizations to actually build their capacity up to being more inclusive of people within the community that we see that's missed a lot of times, and a trainer, a facilitator. So yeah, I do a lot. I don't want to just run off what I'm saying?
I do have a question. Like, why do you think that it's important to reach the youth like right after that first offense or whatever? Like, how do you connect with them? And if there a way for you to, what is that? I can't even think of that. Intervene before they are actually cuffed up and tracked with a case.
So I think that prevention starts with just casual engagement, like how we, especially as black men, how we acknowledge our young people, right? Because a lot of our young people don't feel like they're being heard or seen. So if you don't acknowledge them, they'll stay in that mode. So once you acknowledge them, like, hey, young man, how you doing? You might not get a response. That might have been the first time somebody asked them how they was doing. So you have to be persistent. But apart from that, one thing that I always share with a lot of, and I'm 52, a lot of individuals my age, is that the youth actually look at us. They don't talk to us or talk with us. They don't even listen to us, but they watch us. So even though we may say one thing like we're here for them, or we're trying to give them some help, when you turn around and walk off, they're watching you from that point. And they want to see how you move, who you move with, if you really legit, if you scummy, scattered. You know what I'm saying? If you're not to be messed with, they can tell, and they don't necessarily need to say anything because they're visual now. So building those relationships really has to be intentional in that intervention. But with the program, and I think this is one of the things that we're trying to build into with other relationships, is because the program is set up once they come into the system, right? And that's not really preventative, right? But that's engaging them once they're in the system. And I think, and it's the same with me, it's, I don't have a script to it, so it's always the same. I engage them as a human being, as somebody who I want to get to know. Whatever it is, whatever mistake or whatever choice you made to bring you to this program, I always laugh and say, I'm thankful that you made the mistake. Now we can move forward with some correction. So I think that, really being organic and sincere with these young people is the only thing that really reaches them. and without trying to reach them, having a piece of or a sense of integrity about who you really are as a person before you get out there and try to reach them. Because a lot of times, like the little homie told me, the dude who was trying to holler at him, he said he'd been watching him for years and he know he ain't. So when he tried to come, that's why he was looking. I said, I get you. But we sat and talked for a while, and I was like, why you talk to me? He said, I've been watching you too. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense how they move and they work, right? I guess they do their work after you leave, right? You think you finish it up and like, no, now I'm about to study you and see.
Now I'm about to check you out.
Yeah, I'm finna see if you're about that.
Right.
And figure it out.
And it's natural because I was, the rambunctious one.
Do you see yourself in the youth? that you
Every
run
last
into?
one of them, there go I. And my background's a little different because, like I was saying, that I was raised up in Atlanta, so I have it's 13. My dad had 13 kids, but I was the only one raised up in Atlanta, so I didn't have any cousins or, brothers or sisters to have my back, so it was just me. And so every engagement, there was nobody I can run and go get but me. So, I had to be of a different mindset in how I engage people because I was always the outsider, right? Here you have individuals that are raised up around groups and little packs of individuals. So they have, it's like, so if I can go back. So my stepfather's, his mother sold corn liquor and ran numbers in Atlanta. So I was raised up corn liquor, yeah, moonshine.
Okay.
Right. So I was raised up in the moonshine house, right?
I'm like corn and liquor.
Corn liquor, yeah.
Okay,
So it's a Southern thing, right?
Okay.
So I was raised up in that environment. There were no children. There was all adults, older people. So my visual was all elders and how they moved. So as a latchkey kid, I call latchkey kid the one that, parents are always working. They got a key to be able to get in and out, wake themselves up and go to school, come back home. You know what I'm saying? Just
latchkey kid.
Latchkey kid, or too much independent kid. So I didn't have that social structure of having individuals around me to influence me. The individuals that I came around, I was influential because I knew something that they didn't. So I was always directing and, a little bit advanced than when I initially came out of the house in 8th grade, and, I got to fighting with the two worst twins in the community. I'm like, hey, this is, coming from the west side to Decatur, it's like, okay, this is what we do. I know how to do this. I know how to fight. I know how to get out. So a lot of these young men out here are really forced in positions to have to defend themselves, but they're surrounded by individuals who they think that they're connected with, but they're really not. So a lot of them, really struggle with that transition on who they are and who they're surrounding themselves with. So when I say there go I and I see myself in them, it's like my homeboys, like who we grew up around. I know the play, I know who's running, and I know the loudest one, I know the choir, I know how to watch them. So I see them how they move, but a lot of them are hurt. Not like we wasn't hurt at that time. I came up in the crack era, right? 80s, 83 is when crack hit Atlanta, and I was 13, just coming out of the house. So our social impact and our social trauma was a little different. Like the young man said a couple years ago, he said, you ride around North Minneapolis and you see so many trees wrapped with memorials, it's like you're living in a graveyard. And, when you see more of that than anything else, it puts you in that mindset that this is where you're at, but it's not the total of reality. So when I see these little young men, with their hoodies on and, trying to disguise themselves.
Now with their face masks on.
Well, COVID just amped up that disguise, but, a lot of them are really struggling with who they are as individuals. So it's easy to disguise yourself when you struggle with your own identity.
Oh, you got a question over there.
I just wrote down a lot of different things. I just wanted to know if you knew offhand, you earlier, just to go back some, you spoke about the 12 steps of self-help.
Yes, the 12 steps, like an AA or ENA program.
But
for lifestyle addiction. So we just dealt with criminals and gang members, individuals who, like myself, who was active participant in, the social destruction of our community, right? And it is a verbal acknowledgement, because some people don't think that they did anything wrong and continue to do the same thing there has to be some sort of accountability and acknowledgement of the role that a person has played, how that affects them, right? And to be able to identify, some of their victims, because a part of the 12-step process is making amends to some people you may have harmed. And that's the hard part.
So how you do the work?
I'm sorry.
How do you make it happen?
Well, you're making amends?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is just, first within the individual, they have to keep it real with themselves about what they did. If it was right or wrong, the individual that they may have harmed, how that may have affected them, whether it was recent or historic, and if it was, the further you go back. So I have individuals that I have had to make amends to, whether it was through social media, going back when my daughter was living in Atlanta. Every year I would go back to visit her. I would run into people and I would just remember, because I have just one of those, I don't have a photographic memory, but I remember people and I remember things that I did. Mm-hmm. And I had to sit for so long that I really had to remember things that I did to people and how that may have made them feel. So when you go down that line and really being truly and honest with yourself, and then you see people how they show up, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm never going to be the glorifier of any of my ill deeds, but to start off petty theft and then burglarizing and car thieving and robbing and credit cards and anything that made money except for taking from old people and little kids, I was with it. That's the culture of Atlanta. You get it. That's it. So, and I hurt a lot of people. I lied to a lot of people. I cheated a lot of people. So when I ran into those people, knowing that they probably remembered that, and I had to. And a lot of times, like, oh man, we was in the life. Yeah, but that made you wasn't the same after that. And that's, kind of freeing for people, for victims, right? So that's a part of the process, and that's the work.
I don't know if I was colder. That just gave me some chills or something real quick, because that's real. Because I be like, when people do, be at that level where it's them or me, and somebody become mature enough to want to apologize, like, yeah, that did happen, but I'm big enough to be like, I apologize and I'm sorry, because I don't want no beef. Yeah. Like, I'm old to the point where I want to be calm and safe where I'm at. And yeah, I hated you then, and you hated me, and it was whatever, and we was in the streets, but now I'm where I'm like, I apologize, you accept my apology, and we're good. And our youth don't see that, even though we be like, maybe you could just have a conversation and see what's going on, or why you hate him so much and he hates you, and y'all beefing over nothing, because usually it's basically over nothing, but no adult came in that situation to amend it. Like, nobody came in there and gave them that, what is that, mediation. Yep. And a lot of the youth out here, young people and adults, need a mediation. I mean, a lot of this killing that's going on in the community can be solved with sitting at the table and being like, bro, you did this, or sis, you did this, and the 5-letter word, I'm sorry, right?
My bad.
Right, and then get up and go. You live, I live, and it is what it is.
So I think that goes to the why. And I think I know, and I just be honest, and you know, in my groups, that was one thing, man. If you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna BS, step with it, right? So a lot of my making amends wasn't for me, because the beef, I didn't, you know what I'm saying, I was not turning vegetarian, but it was for my daughter.
You wasn't turning vegetarian?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, sometimes, I mean, it's a part of myself that, so my thing was, yes, it was about the money, but it was about the adrenaline. It was about being able to take and you not take back, right? So however you want to, you know, if you feel like however you want to get it back, I mean, we can go on and on. That was with me, but then I had a daughter. And when I had a daughter, I'm like, hold up, because I might be somewhere with my daughter. Right? My daughter might grow up and be a woman, and you still have that larceny or that beef in your heart. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah. Wow. And it was when you said that, like, nah, it was the why. You know what I'm saying? And so, I think one important part to this work is why. You know, and I always ask cats, man, you know, why you doing what you doing? You say, you know, such and such ain't recognizing you, or somebody ain't acknowledging you, or whatever, but why are you doing what you're doing? And when the individuals, and, you know, that really solidified my feet into my recovery, because I was doing it for my daughter. When I was doing it for myself, I could care less about somebody disliking me, because I was built for that. Like, oh no, I know how to handle that, but I didn't know how to handle, right? So, and I think it's important when I say getting a why you're doing what you're doing. And I don't mean to get emotional on your show.
No, you good.
Right?
You're not the
yeah,
first.
Yeah. It's a little dusty in here.
Right.
I say that, right? So my why became so big that it gets me emotional like now. My daughter is my why, right? And to be in her life and be functionable and respectful and, you know what I'm saying, honoring her space in her life, you know, it prepared me for a woman, to prepare me to get married, prepare me to be right for somebody who's seeing some good in me. Right, so that holding my daughter as my wife, she's still my wife. I mean, that's my blood and flesh, right? And she didn't ask to be here. So even here in Minneapolis, because she was born and raised in Georgia, here in Minneapolis, I have secured a safe space for her to go to school, to work, and to live, because I changed my life. So I don't have enemies. I don't have, you know, I got some individuals, they don't like me, but they don't even know why they don't like me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm cool with that, because I ain't really give them a reason. They just found one. Cool. Yeah. So, it's coming up with a why you want to do something for the community, or why you want to do something for yourself, or why you want to free somebody of a trauma that you inflicted on them in the first place. And what would that do in 3 to 5 years? You know what I'm saying? How would that help them, and how would that help you? So, you know, that was my mindset.
Well, I want to make it a little less emotional. No, I'm just playing.
Okay, appreciate it.
No, I'm just kidding. But I just wanted to ask, you know how, like, when you're growing up as a kid, the teachers ask you from, like, kindergarten to 3rd grade what you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
So the work you're doing now, did you, when you was younger, doing what you was doing, did you see yourself in this position you're at now? And is there, like, some type of occupation or career that you thought you was going to be in?
So I was an extroverted introvert, meaning I like to meet people, but I just don't like people, right? So by the time I made the 12th grade, I went to 14 different schools. So I've come in contact with a lot of different people. So I'm always meeting people.
Was that because you were moving or just
Yeah,
because
we was moving. And it wasn't anything. It
Were
was
you
like
was getting
every
kicked
year
out?
we was. No, I wasn't
Oh.
getting kicked out. I think towards the end, towards the end, I was going to alternative school. Got kicked
when
out
you
of
was
alternative
grown,
school.
when you
Yeah,
was
when I
grown,
was of
okay,
age and I had a little hair on my
you
chin.
got your voice got a little deep and
Yeah, man.
taller than your teacher.
My stepdad said I started smelling myself, and that's when it all became bad.
Oh, okay.
But I can't say that I really had any future projection of me doing anything except for getting money, right? My grandma drove a Cadillac. My mama and them drove a Cadillac. My daddy drove a Cadillac. All my uncle and them drove Cadillacs. So I'm thinking that this is gonna be the highlight of my life, driving Cadillacs and looking good. So I really didn't know what everybody else what to be. And I think that stuck with me until my mom told me that I could be anything that I wanted to be, which was a good thing at a wrong time because crack had just hit. So when crack hit, I didn't want to be no crackhead. I didn't want to be seen in that light. But, you know, for the individuals that was doing stuff and making moves, I was like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I see that he ain't really do that how he's supposed to. So now I want to, you know, be a mover and a shaker and, you know, call some shots. So I got, you know, cats up under me that didn't know how to move like I knew how to move, even though, you know, I was a horrible thief. Got caught too many times. If whatever you're doing, if you keep getting caught at it, you're not good. Stop. Stop that. Cut that out. If the police got to chase you, you might not need to be doing that. I'm telling you, man. You know, lifestyle, I'm telling you, it's a different lifestyle when you stop doing certain things. So, no, I didn't have any dreams, goals, and aspirations of myself or what I really wanted to become. And then once I became a teenager, you know, my oldest homeboys was like 21, 22. And I ain't really want to be like them because they owed me money.
They owed you money?
So, you know, it wasn't until I started going back and forth to prison and start talking to people. And they was like, man, you got a gift for the gab. And, you know, with that, I just, you know, started reading, studying, investigating, and building my conversation up where I could talk about anything. So I became a conversationalist.
Yeah, we were trying to see what you was giggling at.
You wanted me to ask a question.
Okay.
Okay.
In the beginning,
What?
Oh.
basically, you answered it. You said
We both like, what?
cousin passed away.
Yeah, well-
Yeah. That was a
Just-
pivotal.
Wanted to change. So
Yeah.
you just asked, like, what made you change?
So
The rock bottom for you.
So before that, I had went through a recovery program. It was CTSI at the time. Paul Customer was a program director, and you know, I caught a little case. Never caught a dope case. Came up here, caught a dope case. Right the same year Obama got elected, and you know, I went to the workhouse, which was like a cakewalk because I had done high max time, and it was like, why are y'all complaining? You asked to be here, you know what I mean? So got a call. It was like, you want to go to this program. In my mind, I can get out early if I go through a program. I asked him how long was it going to be. He said, oh, not that long. But it took me 9 months to go through it because I really had layers that I needed to deal with within myself. But once I graduated, I just know that I didn't want to do what I had always done, but I didn't know what I actually wanted to do. So I graduated December 19th, January 20th. Orlando got murdered, and that next day, actually, the next day we did the visual up on Irving and Plymouth, and then 7 days later I started the program, CGA, and here I am. So yeah, it was that.
So would you say, rock bottom was also like your calling?
Yeah. Yeah, I never really experienced, all my family members, all my grandmothers, brothers and sisters on my mom's side, they passed away when I was locked up in the 8-year period. I lost like 20-something family members, but it was like out of sight, out of mind. Because they was gone, I really, it hurt. So all the people I lost, it was at a distance. And he was one of the first ones that I kept in contact with. And just, you know what I'm saying, like one of my cousins who I moved up here and built a relationship with. And I just
like
knew.
your cousin brother.
Yeah, you know, it's
One of
like,
brothers,
man, where you been, cuz? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, you know, so I think that's what hurt the most. Because there again, I still have a lot of family members that I don't gravitate to. And it's not because of any personal reasons. I just, you know what I'm saying, just how I'm built. I love him, but he was one who I kind of had some love and gravitation for. And he was taken away really doing something that I used to do. And I did not, and this is the part that's very important, that made me change, and this is the rock bottom, is that I did not say anything to him the day of my birthday. That day. And I felt like because I didn't say anything to him in reference to what I knew what was going on, subsequently he lost his life. His life was taken from me. And in myself, you know, it's like, well, if I would have said something, he may not have. But if I would have said something, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now.
One moment that you're very proud of, or one accomplishment that just, I don't know, made you feel real grateful or good about yourself?
The work you do.
Personally, professionally?
That's a good question. I know professionally, it's actually starting my consulting business. So I actually quit 2 jobs to start my consulting business. So professionally, it's actually making that leap of faith. Personally, I think it was really giving up on the single life. Right? So I'm in recovery, you know. I actually made a full commitment to be married to one woman and went from a single father with a beautiful daughter to one of 5, my wife, and now I have 2 sons. She always wanted a daughter. I wanted sons.
Perfect.
So perfect matchup, right? She has a big family, very family-centered. I'm kind of distant, so I get to, you know, experience family through her. And even this past, so all of these accomplishments, this past January was the first birthday that I celebrated.
You celebrated? Was your first birthday?
Well, since my cousin got murdered.
Okay.
Oh no, I guess I'm on the cusp. I guess it in from December to February. Yeah, so but this was the first year. So it's all based on that commitment to be a, you know, not just a good man, but not knowing how to be a good husband, but learning as I go.
So I know she pivot away from it, but I was just curious to ask, you kind of spoke on it, but not quite. Do you feel guilty because of your cousin death? Like because you didn't speak to him that day, it could have been prevented, and be like, you know how you be like, shoulda, coulda, woulda?
Yeah, survivors.
Yeah.
I think I held a level of, I did hold a level of guilt for him about that situation for quite some time, but I also held, and there was a big bucket there because I also held guilt about a lot of my friends and homeboys who we participated in this destructive lifestyle, and they lost their life to the lifestyle while I was being preserved within the institution. So I hold some guilty spaces for them as well, but I think those just came as additional motivators as I go. But that was, I held that for a long time.
So if this past January you was able to celebrate your birthday, what work did you do to make you overcome and not feel guilt because of your cousin's death on the day of your birthday? Being able to enjoy it without feeling guilty?
Well, my wife made me realize how many lives that I had touched, how many men. Even developing curriculum for institutions that work with men. Working with institutions and their biases on how they see black men and black women within these institutions. You know, so she just really told me, you know what I'm saying, really gave me a rundown of all of my accomplishments. And I was like, let's get it.
Right, and have to learn to celebrate.
Set it up, right. Set it up, knock it down. Yeah, so, yeah, that helped me with that transition.
Right, because I know a lot of people walk around with certain guilt on them, be like, something that you couldn't even prevent.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if I could have or I should have, be like, not to be like, some things are meant to happen, or that's God will, or whatever's in the play you couldn't remove.
Yeah.
And I know that take a lot of people out, holding that on.
Yep.
But obviously, it didn't break you. You still here and celebrated how many birthdays? I mean, how many birthdays after the loss of your cousin? You're still here. So, and he's a part of you, right?
Yeah. I got the tat.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it was because I had engrossed myself in the work so much that I wasn't taking score. You know, like, and I remember, like, just knowing that being in the position that I was in, I was able to speak on somebody else's behalf and advocate for somebody else within agencies and institutions. And I remember when y'all first came up there, y'all was doing that y'all was doing what that was?
Community cooks.
Yeah, the community cooks. And the church was actually, they didn't want to have y'all come in, and I had to no, I know them, they good people, they do good work, they work in the community. Y'all came in, and I don't think it was because of me advocating, but I did advocate. And even when they came back around and tried to say, well, something was going on and y'all was called, said, no, that was going on before they was here, right? So it's, you know, being in those gaps for the community.
Yeah.
Right? That's, you know, it's like, you know, always being that gorilla in the midst, you know, and just knowing that you're doing it for, you know, for the community, for your people, and for your future. Yeah.
I know that the work you're doing probably go unnoticed in the community, you know, because it's a work that it's being done, but it don't get all the attention because it's good work, right?
That's
trying to save the black man, save the youth, save the woman, right? And have you ever been like back in contact with anyone you worked with, like seen somebody that you worked with and be like, this is what I got from you?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, whichever way you want to point. Young man down in Hy-Vee, he's been working down in Hy-Vee since they built Hy-Vee, and I told him to go down there because you got benefits coming to you, part ownership. He's still working there. Cats work around here, young people. I run into them all the time, even some of the parents, because I also facilitated for co-parenting. So I work with unwed parents to help them, you know, build healthier relationships. Yeah. So I often run into those parents. So, and what's a blessing, and I would say that I have really, I've been so thankful to do this work because I have had the privilege and the honor of exclusively working with North Minneapolis community. Right? Even with restorative justice, I would only pick the cases in North Minneapolis because I have a stake in it, you know, and so yes, ma'am.
I got a real corny question. You ready for it?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask you earlier when you was talking about your wife, but I was going to say, did she give you flowers when she gave you your flowers?
No, I give her flowers every Thursday because that's our anniversary, and then every
She said,
Friday.
did she give you flowers?
Does she give me flowers?
Yeah.
You said your wife was the one that helped you realize how many people you touched. So that's like giving you your flowers while you're here.
Oh,
Did she
yeah.
literally give you flowers
Yeah,
when she
yeah.
gave you your flowers? No.
Okay, I get it. I get it.
I was
Okay,
just
yes, ma'am.
playing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You got another question?
I don't know about the first one because I don't know if it's a question or a comment. But the second one is, for those people that you encounter that don't want to change, how do you deal with them? I know earlier you kind of said you got to be persistent and, with what you do, but is it a certain thing that you do specifically?
So what I realized that it took me 40 years to change.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me from getting gray hairs and, frustrated with individuals. I really have patience. And I also support that individuals have patience with themselves, because when you talk about change, for 40 years I lived my life as somebody else. Not that I was a fraud or anything. I was just, my mindset was all in a whole totally different lane. I really didn't care about helping anyone but myself. I'm my own child. I know how to help me. You know what I'm saying? I perfect that. So even with having that sense of selfishness, being in the marriage, you can't be selfish. But a lot of those traits still pop up. So I haven't fully recovered from being selfish just because I got married. So it's going to take time. In the same way I see the young men in the street, individuals. I see individuals who I actually went to treatment center with, and that was 12 years ago. And they, hey man, I see you, man. I see you doing good. I said, yeah, man. I'm still doing the same thing, and that's my thing. I'm still doing the same thing. So that can be and should be inspiring when they do see me.
I don't got no question. I just want to seem like a talk show host. Do you have anything, you know how like when you get to talking, something come up on your heart and you want to talk about it? Anything come up that you just want to like talk about? Oh,
Okay.
no, you was finna say something?
No.
I was finna say, is there like, or was there like anybody growing up that was an inspiration to you? Like, did anybody
Was it inspiration
to you? Like, did anybody inspire you? Like,
Well, he did say granddaddy had a Cadillac.
yeah, I mean, I heard the
Yeah,
Cadillac,
they wasn't really,
but I'm saying,
it's
you know,
they
like,
sold them. They wasn't really inspiring. So I think
Did somebody speak that made you that hit the light like, oh, I want to do what he doing? Did you go into a conference where you saw something that was like, this is the work?
So the poem goes, the jungle creed said the strong must feed on any prey at hand, and I was branded a beast and set at the feast before I was a man. Now that poem was actually in, it was in the Donald Goines Hoson book, but I had the whole catalog of Holloway House books at the time, and I was in my teenage years. So in reading all of those books, Donald Goines became kind of like an inspiration to me, because he was an individual who wasn't necessarily a part of the street life, but he was observant enough to tell the stories, right? Those stories actually, even though I can't say that they're good experience when you say black experience, because they come in a certain urban element to them, but the ability to captivate someone, right, with a story is what that I looked up to. I was like, man, I want to, so it was Donald Goins and Nathan McCall. Nathan McCall wrote the book, Make Me Want to Holler. He was another individual who was inspired. Now, I've been inspired by a lot of, authors, read books and a lot of information, but those were two that I can directly relate to, and that I knew that was someone that was attainable.
Somebody inspire you now?
Now?
I mean, do you? yeah. Like, sometimes you don't really have nobody that you look up to, but then it get to a point in your life and you be like, wow, that's a cool cat right there.
Oh, good question. So I say in the last 3 years, my taste in who I've looked at has changed. Resma Manikem, who's one of my mentors, and I went to a couple of his institutes, he advised me to check out David Goggins. David Goggins, the toughest man alive. So in checking out David Goggins, I got sent around to Eric Thomas. And then listening to Eric Thomas and actually, just turned into a straight beast listening to, myself motivate myself, and then I switched over to Inky Johnson. So I think with Inky Johnson and Les Brown, a lot of those black motivational speakers, all of them have greatly impacted me from the time of Resma telling me, go check this brother out.
He just dropped some names that I need to look up.
Yeah, they are motivational, inspirational speakers. They on YouTube, especially Eric Thomas. And they really, especially during COVID, I really needed that because even though I like to be by myself and alone, I needed something to motivate me that was from within myself, right? And when someone tells you, lets you know, or demands it upon you to look within yourself to be able to do it, and you do it, you listen to yourself at that point. And having individuals that'll get you to listen to your greatest part of yourself is the individuals that really inspire me.
So how often do you listen to yourself?
I listen to myself. Before you said that, I'm always. That's one of the beautiful conversations is listen to myself, because I realized that for first 40 years of my life, I was misleading myself and lying to myself and all of that. So I have to constantly, in my recovery, in my lifestyle recovery, I have to constantly check a thought, right? Like as it comes up, and then how much do I feed into that thought? Or, if it was a pure thought, and how am I gonna act on that thought? So I constantly listen to myself. I ask people to listen to themselves. Some people don't want to do it because they don't want to, realize how crazy, how unhealthy they may sound,
So basically, you can never give up hope on yourself, because you said it took you 40 years. So somebody that's 20 that's down on hope and feel like they don't have nothing ahead, they still always got a chance and opportunity to make some of themselves and have a story to tell.
And every day I share it with them, man. The day might have been rough, but tomorrow might be the best day we ever had, and I stick with that because it's hope. Just sharing that hope and being a good example for that.
Yeah, definitely. Hope is good. Hope is good. I don't have any more questions.
Is hope real?
Hope is real?
I'm asking.
You can make it real. You know what I'm saying? The phone wasn't real 30, 40 years ago.
Neither was Wi-Fi. That AOL dial-up, right?
That doo-doo-doo-doo.
Oh, my
Mom's like, get off my damn phone line.
Right.
You're like, man,
I
unplug.
come from before the three was was the three-way call. Before it was three-way,
Y'all
it was
had
a
them-
call waiting.
them
Yeah, I'm before
landlines
that. So yeah,
Where everybody
landline.
was sharing.
Yeah, had the long cord that stretched all the way around the house.
Y'all got to stop telling y'all age.
That cord can also be used for some taming.
Bye.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, the dial-up. Yeah, my mom still actually has one. It sits on the stand with the the little dial. It's
Oh,
never.
the thing that go.
But it don't
Yes,
work.
yes,
Take you 3 minutes
yes.
to get the number.
But it
Yes.
don't work.
No, it doesn't work.
Okay, good.
But it looks nice. It looks nice. My daughter has absolutely no idea what it is.
Oh, I hated that phone. You got to sit there and let it go all the way back.
Go all the way back,
Like,
yeah.
oh, my God. And don't dial the number wrong.
Yeah.
Hang up.
You got to hang up,
You gotta
do
do
it
it
all
again.
over again. Yeah.
Don't let it have a different area
Yeah.
code. Them 3 extra
Yeah.
numbers
Now
you
we
got to
have
put in
speed
there.
dial in our pocket, right? Now we have access to the entire globe.
She really lost.
No, I'm not lost. I'm just really upset that y'all are talking about stuff from.
It's
the 50s.
okay.
Hold on, that's from the 90s.
50s.
What was that, from the 80s?
Nah,
When that phone
70,
come out?
80s.
70, 80s?
The
Yeah,
50s.
70,
That phone was
80s.
still alive in the 90s.
Came out with the push buttons in 80s, 90s.
Y'all had them big old. You had one of them?
What?
That
The
big
brick?
old
The
phone?
big old cell phone.
Well, my lifestyle was kind of set up where I had a lot of things that
You had the
wasn't
phone
necessarily
in the car,
mine.
too.
Did you have a pager?
That wasn't necessarily mine. Let's just say, yeah, I had a lot of stuff. I like stuff.
Did you carry the boombox?
Breakdancing? Nah, I didn't, because I didn't, like I said, I was the only kid. So, certain things that I just couldn't, I wanted to have. But as the only child, I know I was preyed on a lot of times, so I didn't want to have nobody take nothing from me.
I got a question. It's gonna jump back into what we was talking about. You know how Atlanta is like very industry influential right now?
New Atlanta. I
was gonna ask, was it like that?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm old Atlanta before it went
Oh, okay.
how it is now.
Okay. Because I was gonna say you ain't want to be a rapper or nothing,
No.
but that's New Atlanta, I guess.
But it's crazy. Went to school with Chris Tucker. He's an underclassman. His brother Dexter Tucker is overclassman. Went to school with Silk. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with a lot of cats, and then by going back and forth and the culture change, and you get out. Oh, you doing what? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, he got 2-3 businesses. Like, oh, okay. I've seen a lot of guys just become a part of the industry and not change. Some of them changed, but that was good for them. I was living a different lifestyle.
That's all I have for you. Do you have anything last that you would like to end us off with, or you threw us in like a little quote. You got a nice little quote you want to end with.
So yeah, man, quitters never win and winners never quit. The only thing quitters win at is being on the wrong team. And I here with that.
Oh, well, with that, appreciate you for coming out.